And we are back. Welcome back to the Two Fans Podcast. I'm your co-host, Ari Jesselson.
And I'm your other co-host, I guess, today, Joshua Ament.
Yeah, and today we have some incredible guests, GirlChatSports. If you don't know them, Mo and Mel, they have their own podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and I believe Apple, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it's like on every platform. So
Yeah.
whatever you use to listen to your podcast or watch them, you can find us.
Yeah, and you guys should check them out. They are very awesome. I'm not just saying that because they're on the show. I've listened to a few episodes. They're all great, and they're just fantastic. I don't think I could say anything besides that they're great, and you guys should check them out. So, first question off the bat, how did you guys meet each other?
Well, I guess I'll start. I actually have known Mo for quite some time. We went through a mutual friend that I used to work with. So we've probably known each other like over a decade. And we've always been friends, and we've always, known that each other was a sports fan. And so I've had the podcast for a little while. There was a couple other co-hosts prior to Mo, and they just couldn't do it anymore due to certain circumstances. And so I finally kind of like pulled on Mo's leg and was like, listen, I think this would be great. You love talking about sports just as much as I do. And it's worked out well with us. I mean, the vibe has been good. We have really good feedback. We seem to, we play off each other really well in regards to the podcast. So it's been a good time with her.
Yeah, it has. I didn't expect it to go as long as it has been going. I mean, if you will, because I didn't think I'd be good at it. I started off very rusty. Trust me, I was not ready for all that it entailed at one point, saying wrong information and different little things. So it's kind of been a great learning experience for me to get a little bit better. And I'm enjoying the time. And I do love sports, fashion, music, arts, all that kind of stuff are my passions. So it's pretty much one of those things that I could talk for hours and hours and hours about. And it's been a good time. Again, to Mel's point, we've known each other for quite some time through a mutual friend that she used to work with. And it was just kind of, I was a little hesitant, like, nah, I don't know if I want to do that. Nah, I don't know if I have the time. Nah, I don't think I'll be good at that. And it's proven me wrong. So I will say that I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time with Melissa, and yeah, we just gonna keep it going and see where it takes us.
Yeah, you kind of there sort of got into what I was about to ask next is to sort of, or I guess this can kind of go into two parts. Where number one, sort of, how did you sort of decide to start your podcast, and for Mo, sort of what was it something exactly that like did it for you that made you say like, okay, I'll give it a shot?
I'll start with how it started. Now this probably was an idea about 5 years ago, and podcasting, there was podcasts out there, but it wasn't as widespread as it is now. And there was a girl I knew through another mutual friend who had wanted to start more of a website kind of tailored towards women, sports and fashion. I can do fashion, but it's not my thing, like Mo or like this other girl had planned on. And I was more on like, I like to talk about sports, and I've been a sports fan and played sports when I was younger. And I've always been engulfed in sports through family, through watching games, through going to games. And so for me, talking about it was much more easier, as I'm not a proficient writer. So I wasn't going to be, making articles and stuff like that. But it started off fine. I don't think my co-host at the time we had the same chemistry that maybe Mo and I had. And then the other host, I still love Steph. Steph had other obligations for work, so she didn't really have the time commitments, but I think it all worked out for the best, because it's been great for me and Mo. And, it's just been one of those things where I won't give away our ages, but we are older than you guys. And when we were growing up as girls, there wasn't a lot. I mean, even to this day, there's more women that are in the sports analysis, and there's more women on sports talking about, commentating or having their own shows, but there was none of that when we were younger. And we didn't have that ability to be able to go, oh, that's something that I could maybe do for a career or life. So it kind of just became my hobby to always want to talk about sports and kind of just give a platform to other women or other people in sports that maybe wouldn't have a chance to discuss, topics or things that they're doing had they not had platforms like ours to be able to do it.
Yeah, that's also a great thing with, I guess, how easy the internet is for everyone to use, that it could really create opportunities for a lot of different people to express themselves freely and however they want.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, these days with social media, like we're able to connect, like you guys were able to connect with us. And we were able, that's how we meet most of our guests, is through like social media, or, just through our podcast. They'll reach out to us or we'll reach out to others. But those things necessarily weren't around when we were growing up. So we weren't able to be able to develop that stuff earlier on back then.
Yeah, and on your channel, you have over 225 episodes. So how do you guys stay motivated and how do you guys keep up with that?
Well, I think sports keeps me motivated. I mean, yeah, every week. I mean, sometimes, like I might travel or Mo might have, a busy or hectic week or vice versa. And I think that it just kind of gives us a place, because it is kind of more like our hobby and we enjoy it. It's more, and it's a passion that we kind of are able to, use that time it's kind of like a get together. Plus now with COVID and this whole pandemic year, we haven't really been in person much. So it's kind of like our way of kind of catching up with each other, talking with other people, and, being able to get together and have like a girl chat.
Yeah, basically, like we'd see each other more often before the pandemic, and now it's kind of like a weekly, let's catch up on our week and let's talk about, sports. And I treat the sports thing like gossip. So to me, it's like great sports gossip. Every time some news breaks, it's like, oh, this is the latest gossip. This is the latest tea. Let's discuss it. Let's give our opinions on it. And it makes it very entertaining, and also makes it fun. And it just gives you a different kind of look on how to kind of approach the world of sports, and make it more so welcoming for more women to be involved with all aspects of sports, or be proficient in sports, and then enjoy it too as much as we do. Because, let's face it, it's so crazy with the roles of genders that women are not feel intimidated about learning about sports or learning about basketball, football, baseball, that kind of thing. And we've kind of opened the door to welcoming more women into our chats to discuss the topics at hand of sports, and giving their opinions and their experiences as far as what they've read and questions they may have. So it's been a great tool for us to do that. And to have as many videos as we have, because guess what? You can go back and reflect on those. You can always go back on Spotify and reflect on those. So it's been good.
Yeah, one more thing you'd also kind of mentioned there, sort of how you guys are interacting with your live chat during some of your episodes. What would you say as far as with the chat, as far as just the sort of live sort of unfiltered, so to speak, like experience as a whole? What would you say are some of the best parts about that?
Well, I think part of us doing live, and we've pretty much only done live since Mo started on the show, is that, well, it was easy for me because I didn't have to edit anything, which I don't want to have to do extra time on editing. Like, I feel like if we're going live, everything that we say, it's off the top of our heads. And that's why we also mentioned that we're not statisticians. Like, we may mess up someone's stat or not get the right name here or there, but we're live and we're not editing. We're not trying to proofread anything. We're just kind of flying off the top of our head and showing like just exactly how great our knowledge is of certain sports and teams or positions, or just in general facts. But it also gives our audience to feel that they sat with us during a conversation, that they sat down with us and were there and kind of enjoyed the camaraderie, the discussions, the not so much arguments, but being able to disagree on certain things. And it's live, so that we also get comments and we get people chatting in that can add their 2 cents, and it gets people more engaged with the show.
Yeah, and it also has a great organic feel. It doesn't feel artificial. It's off the top of the head, and it just has a better vibe, in my opinion, than stuff that are scripted and stuff that we have to do a whole tons of research. Like, I know for us, we meet in the morning and we just talk about what we want to do, and we don't tell anything about what our process is. So by the time we record, we have to like sometimes 2 separate plans of notes.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I think usually the day before, like I kind of just see kind of like what the, we call them hot topics have been, or what the news has been over the last week. I put down a couple bullet points, and then we kind of just fly from there.
Because we're chatting. That's the whole point. We're chatting.
Yeah.
It's not like a talk show, canned, that kind of thing. It's supposed to be authentic. It's supposed to be genuine. It's supposed to be just us having conversations. This is the type of conversations we'd have if we were out at a bar. If we were sitting down watching sports and we're saying our little ad libs to in real time to the games. Like that is the whole point of us with the girl chat. Like we're just chatting.
Yeah, I know. When you have great, I'm forgetting the word. I guess communication, or you have a good. I know Joshua knows the word. He's better with bigger words than I am. But when you have a good vibe,
chemistry.
Yeah, chemistry. Thank you. When you have a good chemistry together, it makes it more fun. Like we've known each other since like 7th grade. So, and during our lunches, we've talked about sports. And we need a last minute idea. We have like 3 days before our deadline for our projects. So we're like, hey, let's just do this. And I know at first, we started, at least me, I started cursing a little more. We were arguing more. So, but it's just an organic deal. And I love that part of the day. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, well, that's good, because then you're showing your true emotions in that, that how passionate you really feel about it. Mel's more the sailor than I am. I try to censor myself as best as I can. I don't want to get too explicit. But I understand where she's coming from with that, because I share her same sentiment at times when she's dropping the bombs, because it's the passion that we have about the subject matter in regards to sports, if it's your team personally, or just kind of crazy mishaps that happen and scandals or whatever the case may be. But yeah, that's a good look to have for you two. And it's the fact that you guys have known each other for so long, that makes it even better. Like that's what works.
Yeah, and I'm a Browns fan, so I get emotional a lot. But what is the best experience you guys ever had, either on the show? It could be like going to a place. I know you were just at a Mariners event, if I'm not mistaken. But what was the best experience you two ever had?
Sports related or just anything?
Sports or anything really.
Okay, I'll stay on sports. I think the most exciting thing was when we were able to attend the All-Star for Wnba. That whole weekend, going to the game, meeting Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner for the WNBA, myself meeting Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird, and getting a chance to talk to them. I think it's been the encounters of that. I'm a diehard Raiders fan, so our Las Vegas Aces WNBA team is just phenomenal, with us having the blessing of having media for that, because we got the advantage of the All-Star break of going to that event, but also going to games regularly when they play at home before the pandemic. We were able to meet Mark Davis for the Raiders. I'm a Raiders person, so that kind of just sent me into orbit. And also, not to mention the times that Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, was alive, we were able to see himself and Gianna at those games. And that was awesome. We also got to see LeBron and AD and all of those. I'm a Lakers girl.
Yeah.
They literally walked past our media table. So I think that's been the most overall exciting experience for me in sports. Like I never would have thought I'd get that close in proximity to some of the people that I've watched from afar on TV and idolized and admired.
Yeah, most definitely. I think the experiences we got through media through the Las Vegas Aces here has been phenomenal. Like everything that Mo just mentioned is exactly what I would say. And I think, just being at that, and I think just being able to be involved more on the media end with some of the sports that's happened here, and also just the other people in media that we've become family with out here at some point. Like, we all have our individual kind of podcasts or shows, and we've been able to meet some great people and kind of had this camaraderie out here in Las Vegas, because, I've lived here, Mo's born and raised here. I've lived here since for a long time. And it's to see Las Vegas change to be a place where there was pretty much no sports to almost having some form of every league coming or about to come here. It's really changed kind of how I think that the nation looks at Las Vegas. It's not, it's always been a party place, a party destination, but it's also a place now to come and watch sports and to see your favorite teams play while you're here.
True that. I would have never have guessed, being born and raised here, that we get any kind of pro team or any sense of that. coming from Vegas. We've always been an industry based off of casino life and gambling and shows and that kind of thing. But to actually have professional teams here, it's very exciting. And I think we're right on time for the position that we're in to be the only women's sports podcast show in Las Vegas, and to keep that whole branding of ourselves and that exclusivity. There's some that are very integrated with definitely co-ed shows that are local here, but we are the only two ladies in Las Vegas that are chatting sports in our platform. And that makes it unique, on top of the uniqueness of having now all these professional teams come to our city and stay.
Yeah. And I think it was tough for me too, because I'm from Seattle. So I was raised watching and going to, you know, all Mariners, Seahawks, Sonics, Husky games. And to come move here, it was kind of like, wait, so you don't have any sports? Like, I think they had an arena football team at the time, maybe, and maybe a minor league hockey team. But other than that, that was really all they had. And it was kind of like, geez, now I got to travel more just to go see games. Whereas now it's like they're here, and hopefully once this pandemic should change, we're able to all go back to seeing games again. Like you had mentioned, I was at the Mariners for spring training over the weekend, and that was just nice because I hadn't seen a live game for almost a year. Like, I hadn't been physically in a, you know, arena, a stadium, a field, anything, to see anything live. So it was just refreshing to be able to do that again. Yeah,
I'm sure all of us are looking forward to the day when each of us can finally be at a game again. I can't imagine how that's going to feel for me. I can't imagine how like, I guess, refreshing it was for you.
It was definitely good. I mean, just granted, less fans, social distance, you're wearing a mask for majority of the time unless eating or drinking, but just, you know, hearing fan noise, hearing announcers, seeing players, just feeling the whole sports vibe. It just, it makes you feel good.
Yeah, it's something we need, especially during these days.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can't wait till we get to a place where we're safely can watch these games collectively together.
Yeah, I think the hardest time was when there was actually just no sports, like not even on TV. Like, I didn't know what to do with my life at that point, between just, you know, work and other things. It's kind of like, you can't leave the house. There's nothing on TV to watch sports wise. So what am I supposed to do? Like, this is crazy.
And we're literally coming up on the anniversary of when, like, the strips shut down, like downtown slowly shut down. Like, today is like a year from today where we started boarding up our casinos and everything. So it's very interesting where we are from last year to today. And hopefully with vaccinations and people, the numbers going down, that kind of thing, we won't have to face that ever again, or shut down sports, you know?
Yeah, and as I say every episode, stay safe, stay smart, and wear a mask, because as to quote Josh, we're still in a pandemic, but we'll get it over together. We'll get it over with, hopefully sooner than later.
Okay. Yeah. Amen. Look, I'm ready.
Definitely.
What's it called? I knew people, not Josh though, but they would like measure how the grass would grow. They would marble race. They just find anything to do. So I took up juggling for a little bit, and I would just go to my park because no one would be there. So I just shoot basketball for like 3 hours, and I just do whatever to get out. But I know people who, they would measure how fast the grass grew every week. And I'm like, that's a little extreme for my opinion, but you do you, you know?
That's I will admit, yeah.
I will admit to watching some of the marble races over the summer. Go Green Ducks.
You know, ESPN was showing those marble races, and it was fascinating. Even when I was on Twitter and they had little clips of it, I got kind of engrossed in it. But then when they started showing the Ocho on there, I didn't know that they had really, the Ocho was real, for one. I thought it was just a movie off of Dodgeball, but there actually is such a channel. And the fact that I was watching crazy contests like Slippery Stairs, and different types of physical activities, it just kind of, that was my sports for a minute. Not to mention, I went out and got a game system to start playing NBA 2K and Madden and stuff, just to get my fix of sports, which I have to say, that was quite interesting too. Because
Mo got pretty addicted to it.
Yeah. I did. And, you know, they had the WNBA team on that 2K20, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so in, because my aces are on there and I'm playing, and, you know. Yeah, I've calmed down since then, Mel. And guys, I've calmed down since then. I may go back to it though.
Oh yeah, she was on it. That's funny.
I was crazy.
I
really
hadn't realized. Speaking of like Ocho and just the random ESPN2, because at some point once games started getting canceled, like they were just filling anything into those time slots like for so long. And then I didn't realize, I knew cornhole was like a real game kind of thing, but I didn't realize that cornhole was like at this professional like dart type level where there was like national and world championships. And I was like, what is, I just thought it was like a game you played at bars. Like I didn't know it was like all this. Oh yeah, that was a lot to me too.
Mel. It was serious too. It's serious. Like, yeah.
So funny.
Yeah, I remember like 2 Thanksgivings ago, like Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones were doing cornhole on like ESPN2 like 2 days before Thanksgiving. I was like, this is a real thing people take seriously, you know?
Yeah.
Like I was not thinking but like during classes, sometimes I pop up my PS2. I play like NBA Live 201 or NBA Street just during classes when I'm bored or when there's not a real class. But I get that, we all got to do something to be occupied.
Yeah, or get our sports fix at least, some kind of stimulation from the world of sports. I mean, we went live officially. Our episode had aired, and we had a former Bulls player, CJ Watson, on, and that was the announcement when the NBA had suspended all sports. And we were in real time in that episode with that. And that was pretty interesting because it was just a shock. Like, I can't believe it. Like, what now? So coming from that, you just couldn't imagine. And the fact that it actually happened is just totally insane. It's crazy.
Like we're all witnessing a part of history that we may never see again. Like
exactly.
I sat there and was like, wait a minute, suspended. So what does that mean? Like we've never, in my years of living and being a sports fan, I've never seen a middle of a season cancel. Like we know that there's strikes. We've seen strikes before, but there's never been a season or where the whole, like every league, is suspended or canceled. Like it was like unfathomable. It was just like, wait, I don't even know what to say. Like, what do you say to that? It's crazy. I'm still like in awe of all of that has happened.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Yeah, it absolutely like shocked just about every one of us. But let me sort of switch gears to a little more positive note. What were your guys, some of your guys' favorite guests to have on the show?
Oh gosh.
Oh, we had several, but my biggest takeaway is when we had, and we still have them, but they've moved to a different division. It's our USL semi-pro soccer league that we had out here. We had the head coach on, and I just thought that was like the most fascinating interview and one of the best and most fun because he was just so engaging. And, we never know what to expect for professional coaches, and those were former professional players. The person we're speaking of is Eric Wnba. He was a former head coach of Las Vegas Lights, our semi-pro soccer league that's now in the LA FC division now. They've moved. But he was also a former Olympian on the U.S. soccer team many years ago. And so to have him on and to be as open and as candid and as humorous as he was, we weren't really expecting that. I honestly was expecting seriousness from him, but he really was a lot of fun. And with this particular team, they do all kinds of weird media branding. So one of the things that they have, kind of, if you want to call their mascots, they're llamas. And I'm fascinated with llamas. I just think the alpaca thing is very interesting to me. And I'd never been up close and personal. From my recollection as a child going to a zoo, I don't remember ever coming in contact with a llama. But again, to our favor, we had media passes for those games. So the llamas would be always the opening thing that would happen before the game started. The matches would start. So, to get in a conversation with a coach about the llamas and ask him about that. And his response was like, have you ever seen llama poop before? And we were just kind of like, no, that's pretty random to throw out there, but get into it. Let's talk about it. Yeah. And he was just saying, what you would think it'd be to what it was. And just having that lighthearted conversation with him and breaking down walls of him. And for him to say before we started interviewing, he said, you could ask me anything, was just very comfortable. And I really, really appreciated that from him. And I thought that was just kind of one of many of our fun interviews. But to me, that's the one that sticks out. It resonates a lot with me.
Definitely. I mean, that was a really good one. I think another one is that we've had a former Raider, Jay Schroeder, on a couple times. And, sometimes, when it's a person or player that maybe you didn't watch growing up, so you weren't aware of what's, kind of what their attitude is or how they feel about, talking and speaking and being on the show, is you kind of really get to know someone's personality when they're on the show. And it was just really cool to be able to listen to his stories, but also he had like a really great energy. And, he was, when you can have a guest and an interview on that's like, basically doesn't feel like you have to work for any questions or answers. I mean, it's great. And then they offer more information and you kind of get to know more about them, then that's always great. So I really liked him. And of course we have our local news guy, from News 3 here, the sports anchor for the news. He's been on a few times, and with him it's always fun. Like, he's beatboxing one time but giving you stats and talking about his interviews with some of the players and whatnot. So we've just had we've had so many great women guests, like women that have started their own sports organizations or nonprofits or just so many. I mean, it's so hard to pick people because it's like every episode me and Mo usually are kind of hanging on to our live stream after the show's over with, and we're talking and we're like, man, that was a good show. Like, you can really feel good about it, whether it was someone that anybody knows or someone that everybody knows. Like, it's always just a great show and it always just feels good.
Right. It does. And then even the times and I have to say, memorable moments where it's just Melissa and myself, like those make for great shows too, because we don't get those opportunities too often because we're booking guests. So when we do have the occasions of guest co-host filling in or just she and I, it makes it a lot of fun because then you get to see who we really are and what we feel and what we say. Most of the episodes will be a lot about the interviewer or the guest, and I think when it comes down to seeing both of us, it's never really about us so much. So definitely when we're together, it's a really good look when it's just the two of us, because then you can see more of us,
Yeah, it's all about that balance for some areas, because when there's a guest, because I'm also like one of those, I'm a very emotional person, for better or worse. This past week, for worse, as Josh knows, I just had enough and I left the Zoom call mid-recording. So
oh wow.
But I
haven't done that. Like I'll get an interruption of a phone call or something, but never leave.
No, if I feel disrespected, I'm not gonna let that go. We made it up though. We're good now, but that's how I am. But when you got a guest, you got to make sure you get their story, because everyone has their own individual story and all that stuff.
Well, that's what they say, is that everybody has their own opinion. None of us are professional. None of us can say that we know everything. So everybody has their own opinion. You can have yours, I have mine. We can totally disagree. We can argue about it, but that doesn't change, what your opinion is, nor does it change mine.
No, give it a different perspective. And there's times where we have gotten into a healthy debate on something and we just say our things, but it's never been any animosity after that. It's been just like, okay.
No. And I think if we ever have a guest, I think we've had maybe a couple guests, or maybe it wasn't as organic, and I tell my guests, like, usually there's no time restraint on how long we'll talk. Our show's usually an hour. You could be on there for 20-30 minutes, but if we're organically speaking and it's flowing really well, it could be like an hour. We've gone an hour 20 sometimes. It just kind of depends on that. But there have been a couple guests where it's kind of like you're pulling teeth to get answers, or they're not very good with speaking or realizing that they're on the camera. So it's kind of like you just have to say, okay, well, before we let you go, ask one more question, and then we're letting you go. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I think we've had enough.
Yeah, that's our cue the music kind of phrase.
Yeah.
Like a roll the curtains,
Yeah, like at the award ceremonies, when the music starts playing.
Exactly.
So, obviously you guys are a fully ran women's podcast, especially for sports podcast, which a lot of people want to say is only as a man's sports, a man's ideal, which some people are always going to have that belief, and they're always going to show that either they're going to be trolls or the actual people believe that. So what do you do about misogynist comments, and how do you guys handle that?
It's funny because currently in our group right now, there's a whole debate on, the pay of WNBA players versus NBA players. And for guys, it's always like, they always want to go back to, well, they can't play in the NBA. If they wanted NBA money, they should be in the NBA, but they can't That's not their league. They can't play to that level. And I think people misinterpret the point of it being is that the WNBA, we know, does not generate the revenue that the NBA does, but it's more so that these women are getting pennies compared to the men. We're not saying they deserve equal pay. I mean, no one thinks that, this player is going to be getting LeBron James money, but the fact that we do need to do more for women. And I think the more that we get men that are talking down about women's sports is the more that is going to keep that revenue down. I mean, the point of when someone had commented, like, you should be taking your daughters, your sisters, your nieces, take your mom, wherever, take them to games, get them excited about sports and not just the NBA. I mean, I think sometimes when people hear Girl Chat Sports, they think, oh, you just cover women's sports or you just talk about girls stuff. And we're like, no, to be honest, I wasn't even a WNBA fan until I moved to Las Vegas when they got the Aces. I lived in Seattle. We had the Storm since the day one. They'd been champions. I just never got into it. So I understand how it can take people some time to grow into a new sport or enjoy it. I mean, some people just want to see dunks, and unfortunately that's not going to happen as much in a WNBA game. But I think it's more being open and realizing the talent that's there no matter what sport it is. I mean, I was watching like a women's rugby game, and I've always loved men's rugby, but these women too. I mean, it's like, I think it's just tough when majority of people that are in sports media and, sports radio, it's a bunch of middle-aged Caucasian men who have the same thought process, who have the same ideas, who are raised the same way, where, women should be in the kitchen, women should be cooking dinner, women should be cleaning house. Well, that's not how I was raised. And that's not how I intend to speak to people that are watching our podcast. Like,
that's all men that are thinking, and not all, but the majority. I mean, like they are all like into that whole women's place and gender roles and that kind of thing. And we get into those type of discussions too, but it's just so crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a couple places that I know me and Mo have been. I won't say where just because I know that I don't want to get us in trouble or they in trouble, but there's media places we've been to as media that, only a few people will speak to you, either other women that are there or maybe somebody that is just friendly. Everybody else sticks to their little, it's like the kitchen, and, it's like the lunchroom in high school or something. Like, you got your cliques, and some people will just never get out of their clique to just make new friends. And some of those people that we made friends with through those avenues have been great support systems, great guests, great people to have contact with. It's nice to be able to have people that step outside those boundaries. There's been times where, guys have looked at, why are you here? What are you doing? This isn't your seat. Why are you sitting back here? Like, well, we've earned our way here. We know something about something, even for like guys that you might be, at a bar with. There's always times where you're at a bar or restaurant or at a game and you're speaking about sports and guys are looking at you like, wait, how did you know that? It's like they're not raised the same. You don't know that I watched the same games as you when I was growing up, or that we had the same, interests. And it's just funny to see guys' faces when they realize that you do know something about sports other than just what colors are uniform, or
right,
that he has, it's more than just tight uniforms and colors and that kind of thing.
Yeah, how good they look, even though we still comment on that.
We do, of course.
But it is too, is a lot of the guys will just be like, some guys come off like they feel like it's a threat, and because we're in their supposed space of sports is this guys thing. It's our guys club, and how dare you try to infiltrate like knowing this stuff. Like I've gotten pushback like on that in some kind of way. And then I've gotten the opposite where people are like, wow, you really know what you're talking about, to Mel's point. Like, you really do know your sports. That's great. That's impressive. But still, yet the guys don't want to date us or date me.
My same.
Well, it's always crazy. We have to dumb ourselves down to make it seem like, to appease them. And I made a commitment to say, I'm not going to do that. You either take me as I am with the sports talk that I have. I'm not one of the guys. I'm definitely still a female, but I happen to have a great dialogue and conversation about sports. We're just chatting just like anybody else,
I think
They don't see it
guys
that way.
too, when they're trying to date, like guys always, and I don't know about you guys or your friends, but guys always say like how cool it would be to have a girl who likes sports. You can go to games with them. They don't got to interrupt you during, your game. They'll watch it with you, that kind of thing. But I've had guys where they're so excited about that, but when they realize just how much I'm watching or how much I'll travel to go to games, they're like, oh, so you really like sports like that? And I'm like, what? Guys don't seem to ever, they are interested in having a girlfriend or a woman that can, enjoy sports with them, but don't enjoy them too much. You can't out enjoy it over them. And
right,
there's also
you gotta
guys,
cheer when they cheer and sit down and be quiet. That's it.
And don't ever go against their team. I mean, here's the deal. I'm a diehard Seahawks fan. I hate the Niners. I hate the Cowboys. So whenever I've dated someone that liked one of those teams, like we will go at it. Like it's not physical, but it's definitely a name calling, a cussing. I'm getting mad at you. Like it's getting personal. And men, their egos can't take that. They can't wake up the next day or after lunch or a dinner and be like, okay, we're good. Like they take everything so personal when it comes to
and then they give up on me and say, I don't need this in my life. She's a Raiders fan. She's never going to win. We're just gonna have to part ways. And that's fine. Because I mean, if you can't come to the games with me, if I'm Lakers, Dodgers, and Raiders, and you can't come to the games with me and enjoy them with me, then I'd rather you just not be there.
Yeah.
Well, also like most men have like tiny masculinities, if anyone else, basically, especially a woman, if they show that they're more knowledgeable in something they consider their knowledge at, they're not going to like it at all. Like I grew up with like, I got three powerful, smart, independent, strong women. I've also grew up with like with that in my household. So I'm very blessed to have that, to just be around strong women my entire life. And I've always seen that for a lot of times, like my sister, I can't give her enough praise. She's really smart. And then when there are a lot of guys in her classroom, like they will always like discount her at first because, oh no, she's a woman in this class, Like I don't get that. Women are smarter in most opinion. In my opinion, anything a man could do, a woman could do, and most likely they could do it better.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. The male fragility is real. The male fragility is really real, and so I try to tread a fine line with it. I don't want to, have someone having to go to a therapist after dealing with me because of what I've done, But I do also, I mean, between Mel and I, both of us, we're very strong and opinionated women. So it's going to be hard to try to back down on something that we personally believe in or feel regarding our teams or anything in life, and you just either have to get on board or you just go the other way. I don't know. I can't compromise on my teams. I just can't. Like I have to, this is my, I decided to give up.
I can coexist with somebody that has a different team. That's fine. But you're not going to try and make me wear their gear or cheer for them. Like that's not happening.
I can't do that.
That's not happening. I'll watch the game.
The guys that I've dated in the past have gifted me their jerseys. Ugh. Yeah, I can't. The guys that I've dated have always gifted me with my team stuff. Like I appreciate that. You're not going to change me, to your team. You know where I stand, and I can respect that. But for other occasions, like it can be very interesting to see guys' reactions to knowing team stats, to if you will, or players and situations that's going on, and sometimes it's so over their head, like, and if they have to admit they didn't know that, then I know it's going to be game over for them.
Or when you got to fact check and hit Google up real quick,
and then they call back with the admittance of, oh, you were right.
Nah, it's all about that UNITY, you know what I mean?
For sure, it really is.
Yeah, guys and their ego. It's like an eggshell. You just gotta be gentle.
Yeah, it is. It is. I try my best to, like I said, there's a fine line. I try not to go across that line, but they just push me to it. Sometimes it's just you left me open. I'm going for the layup. I'm gonna say something now. Like you totally left me open for that. So yeah. So are you guys in any type of relationships, and are the women like behind you guys for the sports, or are they kind of into their own thing, or are you looking for women that are particularly into sports as well, or you like to have the yin and yang of your own space with that and their own space with what they like?
we are both eligible bachelors. So if you are a lovely lady around the ages 17 to 21, you can email us at twofanspodcast@gmail.com. Number 2, no spaces, no capitals.
Okay,
But,
good to know.
Yeah, now we're both single. What's it called? I don't know about him, but at least for me, like I don't like clingy people. I like people to be independent, who they can take their own actions, do their own charges. As far as sports, like if I have a good vibe with them, and if they're independent, like that's what I really love in a person. So I don't really care about that sports stuff. If they're not into it, cool. But at least for me, it's about that independency and how well we work off each other and how the love is. Like I wouldn't want to date someone because they got that because they're making more money than me, or because they're really beautiful. There's no point in that if we don't have a bond.
Right.
Very true. Mm-hmm.
Very true. Mm-hmm.
And again, I probably learned this a lot because like I grew up with like 3 women in my household. So I remember like 2000 a lot of times in my life that I would go dress shopping with my mom and 2 sisters. And this was like I was 8 years old, so I had nothing else to do besides like imagine and just be with them and just take the role with the punches.
Boy, you're in a house with a lot of estrogen. It sounds like.
Yeah.
A lot of estrogen.
I'm very blessed to be part of that life. I'm very blessed to have. I don't say this enough. Like my mom's my hero. You know what I mean? Like she's a very strong woman. I'm really welcome.
That's great.
Yeah, that's good. Very good.
But again, hey, if there's anyone out there, especially in the New York area, email Josh and I. We got some headshots. We'll take some on. We can get some good pictures. There's a car dealer around where we live. There's a GP, so we can rent one out.
We got you. We may have some feelers from the Vegas area that may be interested to go the other way to East Coast.
Let me just clarify that he speaks for himself on that.
That's funny.
Well, whatever we have to do to promote you guys for that, as well as for your podcast, we're down.
We appreciate it. One last question, really. What message do you have for the girls at home, either or just really anyone at home, especially for the little girls at home who have been told constantly in their life that, hey, you can't do this because you're a girl?
Can I cuss right now? No.
Yeah.
See, I do have the sailor's mouth in our little group between me and Mo, but I really try to censor myself a lot, just because now that we are live, now that we are streaming, we don't know kind of who's watching. We want to be able to cater to a broader audience, so I don't do that. But here's the deal, especially in these last like 3 years or so, women are so crucial in what's happening. We're seeing women in coaching positions, in managerial positions for sports. We're seeing women that are vice presidents of the country. We're seeing women that are having all these great, powerful roles. And it just shows you that whatever you want to become, you can. There is nothing that can stop you but yourself. And I know I speak for myself, as if I had realized back when I was young that I could have a job like Hannah Storm and it wouldn't be a problem, I would have definitely gave it more power and more dedication. But back when I was young, Hannah Storm was the only woman I saw on TV that talked about sports, the only one. And now you see them all over the place, and it's just, I think it's easier and better for the girls growing up, and for anyone growing up these days, to be able to think, wow, like that's something I want to do, and look at that, someone that looks like me, whether it be your ethnicity or your gender or, whatever the case may be, like that's somebody that I can look up to and follow, and hopefully be able to, be the next blah, blah, blah. Like we saw Naomi Osaka, who had idolized Serena Williams as a kid. And next thing you know, like she is the next Serena Williams basically right now. And she wants the other girls following her to be able to come and beat her one day in the Grand Slam series, like that's just, it's powerful to be able to see kind of the influence and the changes that are happening in the country, in the world, in regards to sports and females in sports.
Yeah, absolutely. To Mel's point, I mean, this is a great space that we're in right now. And as we celebrate March as the month of Women's History Month, we're starting to see a lot of revelations, reckonings, and all kinds of things when it comes to the world of sports for women. Now, I do recall when Robin Roberts was one of the few African-American women as sportscasters with ESPN before she went on to GMA and ABC and that. And I would look and say, oh my God, you've got a female on here speaking sports, just like a Hannah Storm, knowing some things. And Then you're seeing female athletes and their fruition. And when I used to watch Florence Griffith Joyner and think she was like the dopest thing ever,
Yeah,
not only was she in her
Flojo.
femininity, she was also just one of the fastest ladies in the world, taking over a lot of the Carl Lewis's and all of that, and shattering glass ceilings. I just thought it's just like anything is possible at that point. And so now that we're in this space where we're seeing women, and they're not silent and they're not complicit to the things that happen in the men's world of sports. They're calling out the misogyny. They're calling out social injustices. They're calling out all these things, and it's giving them a platform. I think my advice to all women would be, see the message, know the message, understand the message, and keep passing the torch and carrying it forward. And also don't be told that you can't do something when you know you physically and mentally can.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got to say about that. Girl power all day,
all day.
And I'm glad that we're in this time, a female vice president, and seeing corporate heads and heads of male dominated professions now being a takeover for women, where I never expected that to happen.
And team ownership too.
And team ownership as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, hey, like I said, these ceilings are shattering. We're shattering it all. It's going to be one of these things where it becomes unilateral, where it matters not if the person is male, female, whatever. I just think this is now the push that we've been asking for, and we're now starting to see it, and it's not going backwards. It's definitely going to keep going forward.
Yeah. All right. One last thing, and then I think we can end on that point. But just sort of before we let you go, sorry if we're taking your catchphrase there or anything.
Feel free to use it. Feel free to use it.
Yeah, you're fine.
Are there any places you wanna plug for you guys?
I mean, just be sure you're following us. GirlChatSports. It's all one word. So GirlChat, no S at the end, except S when you're starting to spell the word sports, and there's an S at the end. And we're on all the social media platforms. We are very active on YouTube. We need more subscribers. So anybody listening, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also subscribe to us on iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podomatic. We're also linked on Facebook. We go live. Follow our Facebook page, like that. We also have a group page. So please feel free to join our group and join the chat.
Yes, and all the stuff, the YouTube, the Instagram, the social medias, any video site, they will be linked in the video, and hopefully the Twitter and the Instagram also.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Perfect.
And we go live 7 p.m. Pacific time, which would be 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. So feel free to join in the chat. And it's always, you can rewatch shows anytime. So no matter what, as long as you're, liking or subscribing, the live feed will be on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube on Wednesdays, and it'll always get posted shortly after. So we just love to have more listeners too, and keep sharing and caring.
Absolutely. And we thank you for having us on. It's quite the honor.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for coming on.
It was great for having you guys on. Yeah.
Yes, we enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Once again, thank you so much for listening to us and bearing with us. If you have any questions, comments, something you want us to talk about, you can always leave a comment down below if you're watching YouTube, or if not, email us at number2fanspodcast@gmail.com. Just be sure to note that you're not looking for Ari. But with that being said, we do this every single day, Monday through Thursdays, to Spotify, Anchor, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. We of course will be linking GirlChatSports everywhere in the description. So the Spotify, the Twitter, the YouTube, all that I'm forgetting. So until next time, we will talk to you then.